Welcome to Some Good Tea Story Time, where we drink some tea and share a story. I'm your host, Katie, and tonight I'm sharing a story with origins mainly in Irish and Scottish folklore, but it has ties to stories from all around the world. While we explore this interesting phenomenon that some of you might have even seen, I'm enjoying Lion's Courage by Wynwood Farms. Pour yourself a cup, pull up a chair, and let's settle in. Shortcuts. An Irish legend speaks of a wicked blacksmith. He was cruel, stingy, cheating, and hateful his whole life. He never had a kind word for a single person, not even for himself. When finally his death came calling, the devil came for his soul, naturally. But this blacksmith was a crafty, cunning sort. "Come, Sir Lucifer, sure I will go with thee down to the hells, but pray thee, show just a little of thy power. Become a coin, so that I may pay for my final drink." Now, the devil was pleased with his flattery and his willingness to be taken, so, without hesitation, the devil himself transformed into a little copper coin. But that cunning blacksmith pocketed that copper coin next to a silver one he already had, knowing full well the devil's power would be naught, and that he now had the devil trapped in his coin purse. For a full year, the blacksmith kept the devil trapped in his coin purse. First, the devil's rage was great, and he threatened and raged against the blacksmith much. But soon the devil realized his fate was sealed, and his tongue began to sweeten. The devil bent all his cunning and all his craft to tempt the blacksmith to let him out of the coin purse, but none of his offers of fame and fortune swayed the cruel man. Until one day, the blacksmith opened the coin purse and proposed, "Look here, devil, I have work to do. I have my craft and my skill to improve upon. I wish only for 10 more years of life, so that I can see the fruition of my work. That is all. You can keep your fame and your fortune. Only give me peace for 10 years. Then I will be your soul and all. Agree to this, and I will set you free." Desperate, and believing he had the upper hand, the devil wholeheartedly agreed, and the blacksmith set him loose. 10 years passed. 10 years which the blacksmith spent in no more holy activity than he had the first portion of his life. But his skill did increase, and his name became known throughout the Isles. Soon all the knights and the lords came to him for his work and sent all their young men to apprentice to him, despite his cruelty and his stingy ways. None could deny he was the best at his craft. But the 10 years came to an end, as all things must, and on that morning the devil met the blacksmith out in his orchard. For the blacksmith had become rich, despite claiming no desire for such riches, and had lands and lordships now of his own. And the devil found him out in his apple orchard, looking over the autumn harvest that morning. "Come now, blacksmith," said the devil. "You have had your 10 years, and I have given you even more than you asked for. Now you must give me what you promised." "Aye, that I shall," answered the twisted old blacksmith. "I wonder, seeing it is such a long walk to the hells, and this being my last day on earth, I fancied one last apple. We could even share a pair of them. Could you do me the kindness of fetching them from the top of that tree there? I am old now and bent with age, and cannot climb to reach any myself." Then the devil, seeing how the man had aged, and was indeed twisted and wizened and old, took pity on him, and nimbly climbed up the tall apple tree to fetch a pair of apples for them to share on the road. But while the devil climbed the tree, the blacksmith, not old and slow but quick as a flash, leapt to the tree trunk and carved a cross upon it, trapping the devil in the boughs. Now the devil, finding himself at the mercy of this mortal man once again, set up a raging and a howling in the tree. But all his vengeful tirade was for naught. As long as the crucifix was carved into the tree trunk, his power was contained. The blacksmith, unconcerned, paid him no heed. There the blacksmith left the devil, securing his family and his servants, and instructing them not to go into the apple orchard. For months and months, in the rain and the wind, sun and snow, the blacksmith left the devil in that tree, and though he could hear his tormented, angry howling every night, he heeded him not. Only when the wood fell silent, and the sun rose on a cold, clear winter's day after a peaceful night, did the blacksmith go back out to the apple orchard. There sat the devil, wizened and miserable in the snow of the boughs of the tree. "Now you listen to me, devil," said the blacksmith as he stood at the foot of the tree and looked into the two burning coal eyes above him. "I can keep you here as long as pleases me. Makes no difference to me. You won't starve and you won't die, but you sure will be miserable and you will not be missed. You and I both know the year you were in my coin purse was the most peaceful year the world has ever seen, and these last few months have done the world a lot of good. But I don't care at all about the world. I do care about myself. So here is what you are going to do. I will remove the cross from this tree trunk and set you loose to wreak your havoc on the earth again. But you will agree to forgive my debt to you and never lay claim to my soul ever again." Now, the devil is the master of all lies and cunning, and his hatred for the blacksmith runs deep indeed and dark. But the man did have him trapped. "Very well, blacksmith. If you let me out of this tree, I will forgive your debt. You will die this very night, but I will not have claim to your soul." As he had agreed, the blacksmith removed the mark of the cross from the tree, and the devil climbed down, and with a bitter nod to the blacksmith, departed. And that very night, the blacksmith, after years and years of unnaturally long life, finally died. But when his soul reached the gates of heaven, such a twisted and cruel man as he, they turned him away outright. Frustrated, he went down to the hells to confront the devil, but when he reached the gates of the hells, the devil only laughed at the blacksmith's plight. "What troubles you, master blacksmith? I thought you would be pleased with your new-found freedom." True to his promise, the devil would not take the blacksmith's soul, but because of his cruel and evil life, the blacksmith could not go to heaven either. Instead, the blacksmith's soul was cursed to wander in a twilight realm, neither alive nor dead, never to find peace. Amused by his plight, the devil gave the blacksmith a coal from the fires of hell to warm him and light his way as he wanders the realms of this world, wailing and moaning his fate. And ever since, the blacksmith's soul can be seen as blinking, bobbing lights in the fog, whispering and luring unsuspecting travelers into shadowy graves in the hopes that if he brings enough souls to either heaven or hell, he can one way find rest for himself. But alas, his own cunning has doomed him, and he wanders the graveyards, forests, and swamps of the world to this very day. You can see him there, glimmering and blinking just out of reach. But be careful to never follow those lights. It is interesting to note that in folklore across the globe, from Ireland to Germany, from Scotland, even to Thailand, there are tales of strange, ghostly lights. They go by many different names, but tend to share common threads in their nature. They appear at night near areas of travel or near bogs, swamps, or graves, and often lure unsuspecting travelers to an untimely fate. Commonly called will-o'-the-wisp or will-o'-wisps, they have also gone by names such as jack-o'-lantern, friar's lantern, and hinky-punk. Modern explanation for this surprisingly common phenomenon have found that gas emissions and ignition from organic decay in swamps, bogs, and woodland areas can contribute to the glowing lights. Only small amounts of phosphine, diphosphine, and methane are needed to produce a brief oxidation reaction that result in an ephemeral flame-like effect. And while this provides an explanation for this type of light source, it doesn't explain away all accounts of ghost light sightings, the stories, and the warnings. Don't go near the moor at night, and never follow the lights. That's what Mother and Father had always said. But they were going to be late. Colin had taken too long gawking at the wares the toy maker had, and Blair, his sister, had been waylaid by ribbons and bows and hats, fancying herself like a proper grown-up girl. They had forgot their list of groceries, their errands and chores, but they had decided they would make up for lost time. They could still make it back in time for supper. Mother and Father would not be cross. They could not be cross. Not with the eggs and milk sold and the bread bought, just as they had been told. They would make the shortcut, and no one would be the worse for wear. They had taken it before during the day. Blair had been the one to find it, the path that led along the edge of the moor. It was a good little coo path, steady and straight, and it led right to their back gate. They couldn't miss it. So the two children hurried along, laughing and giggling, and remembering the sweets and the amazing new things they had seen at the market today. They always loved market day. Colin told Blair of toy soldiers and a beautiful boat in a bottle. He didn't know how it got in there. Blair talked of pink ribbons and a hat as big as their basket. They are breathless and caught up in their stories, nearly missing the turn of the path as their little boots thump along the worn earth of the shortcut. But Colin looks up and can see, not far ahead now, the glimmering light of the kitchen window. He hurries along, calling to his sister to follow his sure and steady steps, as she does, for her brother knows the way just as well as she does. Odd, though, that they could see the light of the kitchen already, for surely they were not so near home just as yet. They follow along, the path growing winding, wet, and soft. But Colin is not afraid, and Blair is beside him. The kitchen light is just over there, just past the next rise, just over the next bluff. But as they climb up and then down, and the moor becomes softer and boggier, and the fog grows thick and cold, the light is no closer. But the children are determined. This is the way to their home. They are sure of it. It must be. So they soldier on, forgetting all about the day and the market and the toy boat in the bottle and the hat the size of a basket, until fingers are cold and toes are wet and shoulders shiver. until they stand alone in the fog, sinking to their knees in the muck with the light just over the next ridge. Only then do they remember they were told not to go near the moor at night and to never follow the lights. Thank you for listening to Some Good Tea, Storytime. This story was researched and written by yours truly. The music was composed with resources purchased from Monument Studios. I highly recommend them. As always, the tea on this episode is not a sponsor. We are just a fan. More about them can be found in the episode's description. If you've enjoyed this podcast, I invite you to share us with your friends and family. We grow because of wonderful listeners like you. This is all we have time for tonight, but we will talk at you later.